Good morning, y'all. Hope you're doing well today. So a lot of mornings I have my coffee before I film, but this morning I'm gonna have my coffee with you. So I've got my iced salted caramel latte. It's delicious. I hope you have something great to drink this morning, delicious coffee or fruit juice, something you love, and I just hope that you're doing well. And if you're not, I just want to encourage you that everything is temporary. And so I hope that today's message will bring inspiration to your heart, hope, and I just hope that it'll be encouraging. So my message today, I'm actually going unscripted. I don't have any notes. I was driving to the coffee shop this morning, and the message just sort of came to me. And so I love when that happens, especially as an artist. You know, it's kind of funny when the way it works. It's like this big cosmic joke or something. When you actually have the time to sit down at a canvas, it's a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm ready, I have the time, everything's aligned with my schedule, and there's no inspiration. I mean, totally flat. And then when you're really busy in the middle of your workday or whatever it is, it's like you have just this flood of ideas, and you're like, man, I just wish I was at home in front of my canvas right now. And so it's just funny how that works, you know. And it's the same way with these messages too sometimes. And so I was really excited to have this message come to me. And what happens too a lot of times is I'll lose the message quicker than I can get it down on paper. So I just thought I'm going to try going unscripted this morning and just hope that that it flows and that it comes out right and that it makes sense, because it's still early and I'm still waking up. And so again, I just hope that you enjoy the message today. So what came to me this morning, and I'm not really sure why, but I was thinking about a lot of things, but what came to me was the dual nature of toxic people, the dual nature of narcissistically inclined people. And here's what I mean. There's so much to this. I feel like if I did sit down and make notes, I could just really go deep into this. But essentially, I feel like what keeps us attached to people who are, you might say, not for us, a lot of times it's the fact that they're not all bad. You know, just like we talk about a lot on my channel, it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray, and it's the same way with people in our lives too, that that ultimately we realize are not good for us. It's the same way while we are in a relationship with them, or close with them if it's a family member, or while we're friends with them, or whatever the situation is. It's like that's the issue, is that there is a dual nature in these people. On one hand, they can be just very funny and smart, and they can be very encouraging and supportive, and sometimes it's like extreme on this side. Sometimes they can truly be so over the top with, you know, which is why they use the term love bombing, you know. But it's not just like all in the very beginning and that's it with some people. With some people, it's like a cycle. It's like the love bomb, and then the devaluation, and then discard. It's like a cycle that goes on and on and on and on, like throughout the whole friendship or whatever it is. And so that's the issue. And it can even be within one conversation, and that's what's tough. And that kind of stuff right there is what makes you question yourself, because you're thinking, you know, why am I okay? You know, you're laughing with this person, and then there's a jab, and you're like, and you think to yourself, did I take that wrong? Is it all in my mind? You know, what's going on with me? But what I want to encourage you to do, if you are still struggling with figuring out a situation like that right there, or if you're involved in a friendship or relationship that, you know, matches that description right now, please do this, because this is what helped me. I thought of all the other friendships that I've had in my life, or connections, whatever it is, associations, I've family members, any past relationships. Just use those other relationships as perspective before you blame yourself. You know, in other words, to me, it's logical to say, if there was an issue truly with you, like where you were being offended, like it felt like a great friendship, but there were just times where you were confused and, it felt like this person made a jab at you. If you don't feel this way with anybody else at all, then that ought to tell you that if the problem isn't you. You see what I mean? It gives you perspective to know that it's not all in your head, because that's what these people will make you believe, that the issue is with you, okay? But there is a dual nature. They can be great at times, and then they can be horrible at times. Very inconsiderate, very selfish, very, very hurtful. And I think that this right here, this dual nature, is what keeps us from walking away sooner. I think that this dual nature itself is what keeps us hanging on to hope, because there is a good side to it. And it's not like 50-50 with every narcissist. It may be like only 20% good, and 1 and 80% bad, and then in another person that that's like this, it may be more closer to 50-50 or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So just again, I just encourage you not to apply this blanket logic to every connection you've identified as toxic, okay? But essentially that's what keeps you holding on, right? And I think the term related to this is breadcrumbing, what they call breadcrumbing, because they give you these nuggets that are like, I truly am a great friend, see? And you're like, yeah, you are a great friend, so that keeps you holding on for more. And essentially, here's how I've made sense of it. It's like, why do we tolerate some of the things that we tolerate when we know good and well we shouldn't? Why do we do it? And when you truly are a caring person, it's pretty amazing. First of all, I want you to just pause for a minute, and I want you to understand how big your heart really is. It's not to be arrogant or prideful or anything like that. It's just, isn't it amazing and really beautiful how God made the human heart, to tolerate things in this world, because it is an imperfect world. It's a fallen world, right? And so it truly is a beautiful quality, but the issue is these people exploit that in you. They exploit that, your patience and your tolerance, okay? Because if you think about it, how tolerant are they? How patient are they? Usually not near as much as you, if you think about it, see? But here's kind of the spin that came to me too this morning, and it just kind of all just, it was comforting to me, because again, I think sometimes we want to blame ourselves, like, why did I put up with that? I truly must struggle with some big self-esteem issues if I tolerated all that. No, it's not that cut and dry. It's not that simple. There's more to it. And so with this dual nature and these people, and the fact that we understand that, we can see our own imperfections, maybe not all of them, because again, iron sharpens iron. A good friend's gonna, help you to learn and grow, right? But we try to see our own imperfections, and we can see the imperfections in the world, and we try to have realistic expectations with everything, and I understand all that, right? But with these other people, we're doing this, offering that same perspective towards them, but it's not usually reflected back. We're held to a higher standard a lot of times, which is why it's so easy for them to criticize us. But that's not what I was getting at. My point here is this, before I lose it. We can get some coffee. Maybe that's what I need. I lost it, y'all. I lost it. Maybe I should be writing things down, but let me see if it'll come back to me. So they essentially, they have this dual nature, and then that the good times and the parts of them that are really great because they're supportive and all this other stuff, it keeps us hooked in and holding on and hoping for more. Here's what it is. That empathetic side of us is it's almost like, I feel like on a subconscious level within our mind, our psyche, we see when this bad comes out, whatever it is that's totally inappropriate, totally immature. And sometimes it even seems, I wonder if you can agree with this in your experience, because this has been my experience, it seems compulsive with these people. Like if you say, if you tell them something and you're like, please don't tell anybody, like if you're going through a hard time and, they're a confidant in this moment or whatever it is, or if it's like, hey, I bought this present for someone and I want it to be a surprise, whatever it is. If you, if there's something that they know they shouldn't do, okay, it's either something you've asked them not to do, like my examples, or it's just kind of common sense that you don't do it because it's so immature and just inconsiderate, whatever it is, those aspects in their duality. It's like they have a compulsion that they can't stop themselves. And we see this in them. And we feel sorry for them that they can't help it. It seems like they can't help it, like an addiction to being bad or something. It's kind of like, have you ever noticed, experienced, or heard, or whatever it is, depending on your situation, but like growing up, I noticed that a lot of the kids that had really strict parents, or they grew up in like a really strict religious home or something like that, I'm talking like over the top, they typically rebelled. It's almost like it caused them to act out more. And the dynamic that goes on in my mind is something like, the kid would be like, okay, well, if you can't accept me for just being human, and it's like you're totally showing me or telling me that I'm not good enough because I'm held to unrealistic expectations. Let me just show you how bad I can be. Then it's kind of like that mentality, I guess. It's kind of how I make sense of it. But they rebel. And so I even had an attorney tell me flat out who had been a judge before, and it was a great conversation, and I learned a lot from this person. But he said to me that it's not uncommon for people that grew up in very strict like Southern Baptist hellfire and brimstone, like you're going to hell, damnation kind of preaching type stuff, for people to come from those homes to be what they call a sexual deviant. Like, in other words, if you're not allowed to just be human with flaws, like as a child, then it can, I can't really even wrap my mind around what this can do to the spirit, to the human spirit. But let me just say this. There's times too, or there's situations too, where I think even this is a spectrum. It doesn't have to be either or. I think that a lot of us have experienced things in our childhood that may not have been that extreme, but may have been like, it still affected us. You see what I'm saying? Not to the point that we had this compulsion to rebel, but affected us in some way or another. Maybe it affected some of us in ways that it cracked our heart open enough to understand suffering so that we are more empathetic, or whatever it is. I think that situations affect people differently, and the extremity of a situation affects people differently too. But I think that when you identify that these people have like no self-control, it's like they have this compulsion. Yeah, it hurts you, but as an empathetic person, you can see how it hurts them too. Even if it's not immediate, it may be immediate, but you can see how in the long run, it's like you have this is where this numinous aspect comes in. I don't know if it's the Holy Spirit talking to our hearts when we're seeing this stuff, or if it's just a deeper wisdom buried somewhere in our psyche that we haven't, that we can't immediately put language to, something that has to come to us in layers of realization. I don't really understand how this process works, but I think on some level we understand that they're sabotaging their own life. and it's sad. And I think that keeps us hooked in too. So do you see now why it's so hard to walk away from these toxic relationships, friendships, whatever it is? So give yourself some grace. Because again, on one hand, it's not just as simple as you try to share with, a healthy friend, like, you're not going to understand, you're not going to believe what all I've been through. Let me try to share with you. And when you share, they're like, why didn't you just leave sooner? It's not that simple, see. This duality is not even necessarily good and bad in your empathetic mind and heart. It's good and, oh my gosh, something's wrong with this person. Maybe I can help them get healthy. I can be big enough to tolerate the pain for myself, but look at what they're really doing. And I know that they're struggling. You see what I'm saying? So, it's just a big pill to swallow. And I just hope that gives you some perspective this morning. And I hope that it comforts you. And what it comes down to is, you have to turn some things over to God. You just have to. And it's sad. But when you go through things like this, and you truly, truly care about or even love a person like this, it's hard. Hard that word doesn't even do it justice. It's really difficult. I don't really have a sufficient word. But it's hard to surrender that, to let it go. And so what can happen to us as empaths is, first of all, this kind of experience wakes you up to so many aspects of humanity that with regards to like unconsciousness, how people act from their unconsciousness, and so it's not uncommon for you to start self-evaluating and stuff. I just ask you not to judge yourself as you go through that process, because yes, it's going to prompt you to grow too, and that can be a very beautiful thing. But just please don't judge yourself in the process, because your heart has already gone through a lot. Okay, and so depending on where you are in your situation and your stage of healing, just really encourage you to give yourself grace. And if you are a spiritual person and you have interest in deepening that, this is a great time to pick up your Bible, because what I found is a lot of things that I thought I understood, I could read again, and it's like, they really made sense now. After experiencing things firsthand, it's like I can understand how things were explained to us, way back. And it's like what happened is we're getting a really up close and personal understanding of the human heart. And from a spiritual viewpoint, let me just pull this into the conversation for you to consider, okay? I know and there's different lenses you can apply. So I encourage you to apply the lens that fits for you, okay, with your belief system. So you can apply the lens of energy or dark energy here if you wish. But I want to put this out there. In this duality of these people, the fact that it seems to be a lack of self-control or a compulsion, it kind of almost makes you wonder truly if there are unseen entities that are affecting humanity. And when I say unseen, with these people, I mean like the dark side, okay? Like demonic type entities, energetic, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, entities, because it seems like there's this struggle within them. And so the issue with that is that it can affect you. Not like you're going to catch whatever they have and start just acting irrationally or whatever. I mean, maybe that's possible, I don't know. But when you go through this kind of stuff for an extended period and you start experiencing some really, really unexplained things to the point that your health is failing, you get to the point where sometimes it's not that you did get strong enough to leave. Sometimes it gets to the point that you have no choice but to leave to save your life in some situations. And so, it does make you think about the spiritual realm. It does make you consider, unseen entities and their influence over people. And so, in that regard, when you turn this over to God, if that's a part of your practice and beliefs, then, that's certainly a person that you can pray for, right? For their spirit to be released of this oppression, okay? Not just for themselves, but so that, whatever they're dealing with doesn't continue to harm others. And so just please put your health, your mental, your physical, your emotional, and your spiritual health first, and just start to, as you can, spend a little bit of time here and there doing things that you enjoy, making good memories for yourself. And it's probably going to be a natural part of the process that you want to kind of pull away as you refine your discernment with who you feel comfortable associating with. It's kind of like you get to the point where you feel like you can't really trust your judgment with people because you thought you could, but then it's like, look what you got involved with. So it's kind of like, well, let me just kind of step back here and reassess things. But in the meantime, you can just do some things that are lighthearted. I encourage you to find some comedy that you enjoy online in your alone time. Laughing is very healing, and just listen to lighthearted things. I love to do deep dives on my channel and to really do critical thinking and break things apart logically, and that's fun to me. I actually enjoy it, but I do mix it in with some lighthearted stuff, you know what I mean? Short, lighthearted, encouraging type messages. I follow channels like that too, and comedy as well, like I said. And just, this is a great time to revisit hobbies, things that you might enjoy, like photography or surfing or scuba diving or art, painting or piano or singing or jogging, yoga, whatever it is. Now is a great time to kind of just start dabbling in those. And there's going to be times when you don't feel like it, so don't pressure yourself. It will come in stages. But all of this, it's kind of strange how it works. The way it worked for me is I wanted to force it. I wanted to force my healing. In the beginning, I was pretty patient with myself. I let myself feel all the feelings. I worked through a lot of emotional processing with some very beautiful souls, trusted friends, and that helped me, that held space for me and things like that. I educated myself. I took a lot of courses. I watched a lot of videos. I read books. And I just sat and contemplated and connected dots a lot. And I spent years doing that. But then towards the end, I started getting pretty impatient. And here's what I'm understanding now. It's kind of like a delayed process. And this is where I really want to encourage you. If you really are doing the work, as they say, in all those aspects and trying to balance your life, as part of your healing, and you're like, why don't I feel better? Sometimes I feel better, but it's not consistent, it will come. It will come. But I also want you to be realistic and see, we lived out of balance for so long. I think we have to get reacquainted with what it means again to live in balance. So even when you are at the latter stages of healing, or like you feel like you're truly healed, you're still gonna have bad days. So just be realistic with that too, as you are getting back in balance. And the biggest thing I would just say is always try as much as you can to live aligned with what feels right to you, what feels right to you. You don't want to feel obligated in any way to revert back to self-betrayal to appease another person. Okay, put that responsibility on their shoulders. It's each one of us has a responsibility to ourselves to for many things, but to make sure that we are content. That responsibility doesn't fall on anybody else's shoulders. Same thing with just actual responsibility in the world. It's, we need to pull our own weight. And so it's the same thing with taking care of our own emotions and things like that. Yes, we can help one another, but ultimately our responsibility needs to fall on our own shoulders. And so just don't feel the need, as an empathetic person to just, try to find someone else to go and save or whatever it is, you know what I mean, or help. That you can do that, but just regulate that. Regulate where you are pouring into, and make sure that you're pouring into yourself first, right? It's that whole old saying, you can't pour from an empty bucket or whatever it is. You got to fill your own bucket first. And so I just hope that this message has been encouraging for you. I hope that you are inspired today by the message, and I just thank you so much for coming along to hear it. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.